Nova Legends podcast, I have new Herndon coach Austin Hamilton, who returns to his alma mater. Austin is a 2011 graduate of Herndon and had a great career there. Coach, great to meet you. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks for having me, Julian. I've been a supporter of the podcast and what you're doing for obviously Northern Virginia Hoops, but also just the high school scene in the state of Virginia. So excited to be on and looking forward to the conversation.
Well, thanks for saying that. I mean, you guys are the ones that the great players and the great coaches are the ones that make it all work. But I'm glad to definitely glad to be involved. It's just so much fun. Let me give your background for folks. You were 2000, as I said, 2011 Herndon grad. You were all met at Herndon, first team All State Regional Player of the Year. And this is back when they had only three classifications, so everything was a little bit more challenging back then. What you won the district at Herndon, got a full ride to Elon College D1. There you started 86 of 105 games. You averaged nine a game your first year, which is an incredible way to start for your career. You averaged 8 points, 2 rebounds, and 3 assists. You and your brothers, Brandon and Marshall, have a training business called the Goods Basketball. Is Walter also your brother?
Yeah, Walter Hamilton's also he's the oldest of the crew. So big family, five total, four boys. I'm the youngest boy, and then we have a sister who just graduated from physical therapy school at Duke. Um, but yeah, Walter, he's a helm when it comes to the brothers. So he's also involved kind of behind the scenes, but obviously he's busy winning state championships.
Yeah. I was going to say congratulations to Coach. Also, your parents have done an amazing job raising such a great and successful
Absolutely.
family. You do inside sales at Science Logic. I don't think I mentioned you were a sports and event management major at Elon, and you got a master's. This is in England. They may have this different MBA, MA thing in England than it is here. You got a master's in marketing and management at
Correct.
Essex over in England.
Correct. Yeah,
Is
it
it a
was
little bit different than it is here?
a little different, but it was such a unique situation. Had the opportunity to also play basketball out there. So basically, the deal was, hey, you know, obviously play on your pro team, but if you want to get your master's, we'll pay for that. But you also have to play on the university team,
Yeah.
which is a lighter load when it comes to basketball. It took me it took me a while to get used to. I think practices were like optional, weight training, sessions were optional, but unbelievable experience. Obviously, in the classroom, but also playing ball there and getting the ability to meet folks throughout the UK. So it was special.
Anybody who can further their education while they play basketball, do what they want to do, it's got to be a great situation. Especially, I've never been to England. I've always wanted to go, so I'm sure that was a great time. Um, I want to start with Herndon history. So when I started this group, if you would ask me what high school has the best tradition, the most great players, Herndon wouldn't have come to mind. I would have obviously thought of TC, Alexandria City, and South Lakes, Potomac, if we extend down to Prince William. But while doing these Facebook groups and this podcast, I've realized that Herndon has had so many Division I players. I don't think people realize like Jason Thomas, Keith Moody, Scotty Reynolds, yourself,
Lucas.
so many more. Do
Yeah.
you somehow think that Herndon is somehow underrated and some of the history of Herndon is kind of lost among some of the other great programs in Northern Virginia?
Yeah, I think so. And that's one of the things, I want to really establish internally, letting our guys know, hey, you guys come from a rich history of great players, great coaches. I have a slide, Julian, and I'll post this at some point, but I want to say between like 92 up until like 2013, like 15 all-Met selections, a number of district player of the years, a number of championships. And then I don't even know, I'll have to work with Coach Hall with this, but I would say over, man, over 60 players have played collegiate basketball at all levels. And there's probably more, but there's some history. And I'll also say this, you ask anyone that has played in the northern region, they'll tell you playing at Herndon has been one of the toughest places to play, so I'm excited to sort of reestablish what I got to experience, back when I was playing and even, before me.
Why do you think Herndon is underrated? Do you think it's because you guys are kind of in the shadow of your noisy neighbor South
Yeah.
Lakes? Is because it truly is amazing the number of players that you guys have had. And I will say you haven't probably won as many titles as you deserved, and maybe that's the reason.
hmm
But what do you think?
Well, I mean, I think just Herndon's just a smaller, town, right? I think we're one of the only towns in in this area, Northern Virginia. I want to say Vienna's the other like, town. So I'd say population, but obviously South Lake's having a Hall of Famer like Grant Hill, and then you also add Christy Winter Scott as well, to give, some prominence. It's a bigger school, but I think, Herndon is just it's unique in its own way. Like we have our own police force, right? Like unlike any other cities in this in this region. And then again, I go back to sort of the notoriety of Herndon and maybe other alumni. But obviously having someone like Scotty Reynolds that McDonald's All-American, first team All-American at Villanova, sort of helped boost Herndon. But yeah, and you said it kind of underrated, kind of under the radar, which I love, and I think it makes us unique, and it's made Herndon, calcified throughout its program history.
Yeah. Did you realize, Coach, that Herndon, not until mid 60s, joined what became the Northern region? You guys played small schools, kind of like the way George Mason Meridian has always
Yeah.
done. You guys were different, and then you guys didn't play a lot of the teams up here. You played smaller schools out in the state. It's really interesting how Herndon evolved. Now, I've interviewed a lot of current players, but mostly older players, players my age or younger, but not really your generation.
Yeah.
So when you think about playing in 2011, have things changed a lot? Like if you look at when I played, or even in the 90s, the game is so different now.
hmm
Even when the three-pointer came to be, we didn't really use it the way they use it now in the 90s. The game was much more physical in the 90s than it is now. In the 80s, when I played, we didn't have three-pointers. It was definitely a battle for space. But not as much time has gone by for you. So when you look at the game when you played at Herndon, has the game changed a lot to you now in 14 years?
I would say so. I think you know, uh, my generation, I would say, was one of the last ones that, you know, from a talent perspective, where kids were more inclined to stay at their public school. There was obviously a few where they would go to the PVIs and the Mathas and WCAC schools, but when I was coming up, my senior year. You had myself, John Manning, Jake Wheelen, all to play Division I basketball.
Crazy.
You add Keith and Savage, who he actually transferred the year before, but he was also in there. My sophomore year, you had Justin May, who played at Delaware State.
Mhm.
So you had talent all throughout, and I'm just speaking within the Concord district. Carl Ziegler, who I played AAU with, played at Longwood. D'Angelo Boyce, Daniel Dixon, Max Lennox. Like there's a lot of guys. I mean, I would argue our generation, you know, from top to bottom, we could compete with some of these other generations when it comes to like an all metro or all region sort of team. But to your point, a little kind of behind the scenes. But I think as far as the actual gameplay, I think the three-pointer was really starting to take prominence around that time. So I know for my team, we were small. So we lived and died by the three. Um, Always played at a fast pace, pressuring the ball, and I think I don't want to. I'm not gonna bash this generation, but we played a lot of pickup, so there were certain instincts and discernment that I think we developed over time, opposed to now where it's more singular focus on your training and not a ton of just hey roll the ball out there and play, right? So I would say my generation was maybe the last of that sort of old school era.
Would you say the talent level has dropped in your years? And is that because the type of kids that are just immersed in social media? Is it because the private schools, like even Virginia Academy, it was all these schools that can poach
Yeah,
even not just the great players, but even like the pretty good players are going to
right.
the private school. What do you think about the talent level in those 14 years?
I think to your point, it has sort of diminished a little bit based on social media and NIL and I think another big one is AAU, right? Um, when I was coming up, playing on your local Optimist team, that was like you had to do that. Now these kids will bypass that and just play AAU. So I think that also plays a part in that community pride that you would have, for your local team, because that bleeds into the high school ranks. So to me, that's a really important piece that's not talked about. I think, a lot of players don't have that same pride that they, would have back in the day when it's like, okay, I'm going to play for Reston because I know I'm representing South Lakes at a certain extent. I'm going to play for Chantilly, or, Lee District because, when it's my time to play at, my local high school, um, I'm sort of replicating that as best as I can and even continuing those rivalries, right? Like when I played at Herndon, we wanted to beat Reston because we knew those were the neighborhood, crosstown rivals, and we're going to see these guys in high school. So I think that sense of just local pride and community is kind of diminished.
Yeah. Who were the first people outside your family members to inspire you in basketball? Whether it's a coach or a player that you wanted to emulate.
Yeah, so that's a great question. I was a big Allen Iverson fan.
Hmm.
Um, I was a little chubby kid wearing headbands. I didn't have the braids, but Allen Iverson was my guy, especially being a Virginia native. Um, Steve Francis as well.
Yeah.
Those more, smaller but athletic guards. And then at the local level, I got to see Ricky Lucas
Yeah.
up close and personal. And to see him, like I remember he'd come back from like ABCD camp and he's wearing all his gear and he'd come to the Herndon camp and we got to see what he could do. And then of course, Scotty Reynolds taking it to another level. I tell kids all the time, I didn't even like college basketball was something, I wanted to do, but like I wanted to play for Herndon.
Mm.
I wanted to play in front of those crowds and get to experience that South Lakes rivalry game and that Friday night environment. Like that was what I looked up to and wanted to work hard for.
Yeah. Who was the first important coach that you had that made you think deeply about the game?
Don Nemo. So Don Nemo, he was my youth coach up until man, I want to say like 14, 15. And he was vital for me, Julian, because he instilled confidence in me at a young age, and he saw some leadership qualities in me at a young age. So, he was tough on me about my grades. He was tough on me about my body language and how I carried myself. And I'm talking like at 10 years old. So I understood, how to communicate and how to motivate guys, how to push the right buttons to get them to play at a certain level. Because he gave me the keys at that age, and I'm so fortunate for him and instilling that confidence because And when you're a young kid coming up and you're looking for ways to help your team. Um, and one of those was again the leadership aspect, right? Like obviously I had some talent, but to get those guys to believe and trust in me was huge, and I carried that all the way up until my last time playing at a organized level.
Mm. Well, like Allen Iverson, being a kind of a big kid, you must have been a good football player.
So I played 1 year of football, and that's one of my biggest regrets. I should have played football, and I was pretty good too. The assistant AD at Herndon, it's funny when I was interviewing on the panel, they asked me about multi-sport athletes, and I was like, I love it, and I apologized to the assistant AD, his name's Dan Coughlin, and said, hey, I should have played football, and we always have a laugh about it, but I love the sport. I'm a Tennessee Titans fan through and
Oh,
through. Kind of random. I know, I'm sorry.
and I'm a Steeler fan. Yeah.
But yeah, I love the sport and there's guys currently on the team that play football and um I'm gonna support them. But yeah, football is definitely one of my passions.
Yeah. Coach, did you play for Gary Hall at Herndon?
I didn't know I played for Chris Wheelen.
Okay. Tell us about Chris Whelan. I'm not familiar with him.
Yeah, so Chris Wheelen graduated, I want to say in 96 at Herndon. He played with John Pugh. I'm not
Yeah.
sure if you know that name. I think John was like 6'11", 6'10". But Chris Whelan, similar to Don Nemo, he saw a lot in me at a young age. I came in my freshman year was the year Gary left. So Chris Whelan stepped in. He was a Herndon guy, understood the tradition and what it meant to play for Herndon. And you know, he was always honest with me. He was always hard on me to be the best that I could. He's still a great friend and mentor today. Um, but yeah, he was tough. He was a tough coach. He had coached at the collegiate level before, played at Lynchburg, had a really good career there, and he was huge for me as far as again sort of giving me the keys to the program at an early age.
As a coach, what do you take from Coach Whalen?
I would say um, his level of communication and connecting with players. That's something he was big on. Before the season, he would write a handwritten letter to each player, basically saying, you know, you have a chance to be really special. This is how I see you. You know, this is how I see your role on this team. Um, Words of encouragement. And it's like little things like that, a handwritten letter to each player in the program. Like, that's huge. So he was able to connect with us at a human level first. Um, and then he was just intense. He really prepared me for the collegiate level because our practices were like Division I collegiate practices. Um, he was very organized and structured on how he made his practices and how he built up to what our system was. But yeah, he was a unbelievable coach, unbelievable mentor at that time. And he really helped me, I would say, from a recruiting standpoint, because he had some great connections. And when you're a high school coach and players say to you they want to play in college, you know, I would say not all coaches put their best foot forward as far as helping their kids, but he did that for me and truly grateful for it.
Yeah. Is he still coaching today?
He coaches at the youth level. He's got two daughters,
Okay.
stud lacrosse players, but they also play basketball. So he coaches there, but he'll be involved in this program. He doesn't have a choice.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what his role will be, but he'll be involved.
What about your brothers? Was there pressure going to Herndon, playing it, because your brothers had played there?
So I would say it was the opposite, Julian. It was motivation. And so Walter, the oldest, let me backtrack. So we had moved to Herndon, I want to say in like 93 or 94. I was just born. But my oldest brother, Walter, and Brandon, they're uh, fifth, sixth grade, middle school. So they've missed those important years of establishing relationships in the community with parents, going to Coach Hall's camp. So, that's super important, especially, in this area. Um, so as he was coming up, they didn't really know who he was. And he ended up getting, fast forward to high school, ended up getting cut, for whatever reason. And then Brandon comes. Brandon ended up playing freshman, played JV, and then his junior year got cut from a really good varsity team. That was a team with Ricky Lucas and Scotty Reynolds. Scotty was a sophomore or a freshman. They also had a guy, Brad Farrell, who played at Loyola. Um, but just really got to see their journey and um, you know, see that they had really put in a lot of work, but it wasn't really showing. Um, and I remember seeing my brother get emotional after he got cut, and had to play JV. And when it was our time to come, I think part of it was like, look, as older brothers, they're not gonna make sure they're not gonna let this happen to my younger brothers. So Marshall has a similar story as well. Um, didn't get a chance to really show what he could do. And he was on the cusp of getting cut his junior year.
Mm.
Luckily, he makes the team. And come his senior year, now I come in as a sophomore, and we had a chance to play with each other. But the moral of the story is, again, I got to see them, experience some trials and tribulations. So that motivated me, Julian, to get my butt in the gym because I didn't want that to be me. And it's funny how this all comes full circle to see, where they were at, when they were playing career at Herndon High School, and for me to now be the head coach, it's remarkable. But yeah, they inspired me. They put the ball in my hands. My dad, he's a pastor, loves sports. He actually played semi-pro football, but he wasn't. He obviously loves basketball too, but he wasn't like a basketball guy. So the love really stemmed from my older brothers, and yeah, it was an awesome journey.
Yeah. Oftentimes, coaches have unfinished business because something in their playing career, they didn't get closure on certain things. Now, you had a lot of personal accolades. You were able to play college, and you won a district. But I didn't see any regional titles and stuff. Do you have unfinished business, or are there? Did you have seasons where you thought you could have gone further, and you're excited about maybe making some amends?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still mad that I lost to South Lakes once as a player my sophomore year. I'm still mad that, yeah, I didn't get a chance to get to that regional final. So the player in me and the competitor in me is like, yeah, there is some unfinished business. Um, but at the end of the day, as a coach now, my role and what I'm gonna do is to get these guys to believe in me first, and then believe in themselves. From there, I think we'll be able to build something special. But yeah, the goal is to always win. We want to win districts. We want to get to the region, and then we haven't won a state championship, I think, since like '56. So
I
to
think it's
be
like
able,
40. I think it's like 47 or 48.
yeah, it was a long time ago.
I'll
Um,
check on that. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
but yeah, would love to get to that point, and I just know the community would be in full support. Because I remember when we went to the state championship, when Scotty was a senior, and got to see, no disrespect to this past state championship and what the support level looked like. But from what I remember when Herndon was playing, it was standing room only.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of empty seats at this past year, but to be able to have an opportunity at some point to get Herndon back there, it's going to be special, and I'm excited for it.
Yeah, right after COVID, the crowds came back for a while. It was crazy, but now
Yeah.
it's kind of gotten low. I mean, big games, big rivalries, you get nice crowds, and Marshall gets good crowds, and certain schools do. But even some great programs like Hayfield, very disappointing when you go to games and you get these big empty gyms sometimes.
Yeah.
But again, other gyms are packed. Like McLean is always packed. Yorktown's got decent crowds.
Mhm.
It all depends. Do you think it's weird that Herndon and South Lakes, you guys are kind of on an island by yourself, that you're not in the same district anymore? Doesn't that seem weird to you?
It is a little weird because I grew up seeing them in the same district, but actually, as I came in, I want to say that's when they left, like 2009, 2008 is when they went to I want to say it was the Liberty District at the time. But yeah, it is a little weird. I would love for that to get back, but obviously we're going to play them every year. So the rivalry, um, I'm going to say it's going to be reignited this year. I love Coach Desmond. He actually coached me um, for a little bit on the AAU circuit, and he's been a mentor for me, honestly. He helped me out throughout this process. But yeah, that rivalry is going to be reignited, so I'm excited.
Yeah, coach does a super job. When my son was playing soccer at Yorktown, South Lakes was in our district in the Liberty, and then they left and joined the Concord, I think
Yeah.
2 years ago. So they came back together, but who knows? So you mentioned Chris Wheelen had great contacts. Is that how you end up getting Elon?
Yeah, so he had a great relationship with one of the assistants, Tim Sweeney.
Mhm.
Um, and I can't remember how that relationship formed, but Elon was one of the first schools that recruited me. One of the first schools that came to open gyms, and that was near and dear to my heart because you could tell they really pursued me and wanted me. Um, I also had offers from a bunch of schools, but I had narrowed it down to George Washington, UMass came in late, and then St. Francis and PA. Had a really good relationship with um, JD Byers, who was assistant there. He's now at Virginia Tech. Got to see him as he was recruiting Jordan Scott, so I got to talk to him. But yeah, it started with Tim Sweeney and Matt Matheny and all those guys. They would come like fully suited. They were looking like they were the mob. They'd come to open gyms and it was great. And then I've got connections to that state of North Carolina with family and my parents. My dad went to North Carolina A&T. My brother was still down there. So it made a lot of sense to be there and still have some family, in the surrounding areas.
How would you describe campus life on Elon? Would you recommend kids go there?
Oh, for sure. It's I want to say every year it's either like number one or number two most beautiful campuses. Like it's ridiculous. They used to wake me up every day because somebody was doing some sort of landscaping work. So they earned that title. But it's a great school. Academically, they're one of the top 50 academic wise. They've got a strong alumni base, on the East Coast. I got to go to some events in the DC chapter. From an athletic standpoint, they've got the best facilities I've seen for a mid-major. When I was there, we were playing in a small gym they call alumni gym, but they've got a beautiful facility. Um, the athletic director, she's doing some awesome stuff. She came from University of Miami, so she kind of wants to, bring that high major Power Five type environment to a mid-major school like Elon. So awesome, awesome campus. I promise you, if you visit, you will fall in love.
Mm.
Um, Funny story. So as I'm getting recruited, um, Chris Wheelen's rule, my coach was like, look, don't commit on your visit. Look, whatever you do, don't commit on your visit. So I get there and I'm having the time of my life. I'll call him and I'm like, I know your rule, but this is the place for me. I'm coming. Ended up committing that next morning, and it worked out.
Yeah. So how would you, it sure did. How would you describe Coach
Matt Matheny, yeah,
Matheny? How would you describe his coaching style?
very detailed. He's one of the best teachers that I've ever been with. So his story, he's a Davidson guy through and through. Um, he actually was the lead recruiter for Steph Curry. So, he was under Bob McCaleb's tutelage for a number of years. So he learned, a ton of just details from that system and brought that over to us. But Matt Matheny, he was all about toughness. He was all about, being together, caring for one another, and then committing to one another. And, he was tough on me, especially as a point guard. Um, but yeah, I think his level of detail was unmatched when it came to how we prepared, how our workouts were. Um, just everything within that system was super detailed. Again, another friend and mentor till this day. I got to see him when they played George Mason. So yeah, he was awesome.
Yeah. He's not coaching anymore, is he?
He's back at Davidson.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
Okay.
He's
Cool.
head
Great.
assistant at Davidson.
Yeah. So
Uh,
how would you explain the fact that you were able to hit the ground running and average almost double figures first year? It's hard. It's got even harder nowadays for young players to even get playing time. But it's always been challenging to go up and level like that and be able to contribute. But you hit the ground running. What do you attribute that to?
well, I would say, man, I think playing in this area, it kind of prepared me for a lot. Playing in this DMV, it's a hotbed when it comes to basketball. So I've been able to play against great talent. Quinn Cook, I've been playing against him since I was 10. Um, DeMatha, they had a team, probably one of the best teams ever assembled my sophomore year. They had Quinn Cook, Josh Selby, Victor Oladipo, Mikal Hopkins, the Grant brothers, like legit like seven NBA guys on that team.
Mm.
So being able to compete with those type of guys in high school, it gave me the confidence to say, hey, when I get to Elon, I've seen it all. So I'm ready to go. And I think I came in there with some confidence. Um, they were able to give me some freedom on how I played sort of outside the system based on my skill set. Um, but yeah, I kind of attribute it to what prepared me to get there. And I felt like I was prepared just from what I've seen, what I was able to do playing against, some of the top tier talent.
Yeah. So while you were there, Elon went from the Southern Conference, which is an historic conference.
Mhm.
Used to be have Duke and Maryland and almost every big school in the Southeast was in the Southern Conference at one time. And over time, it's gotten smaller and smaller, or just different. But
Mhm.
anyway, you went into the Colonial, I believe, last year. Was that was
Right.
that a big difference, the different conferences?
Yeah, I would say so. Just from a competitive standpoint, Julian, I mean, every single night, like anybody could beat anybody. And we were a prime example my senior year. We had battled through a lot of injuries, but we were able to beat the top four teams in that league. It was UNCW, William and Mary, and Northeastern, the top three. There was like a three-way tie for that number one seed. And we beat all those teams. But then we would also lose to like Charleston or I think we had some battles with Drexel. Um, but yeah, just from a talent standpoint, not saying like in the SoCon it wasn't, there wasn't talent, but there were some games where it's like, okay, like, we do what we're supposed to do. This should be a pretty easy win. You didn't get that in the CAA. from a personal standpoint, being able to play some games closer to home, right? Towson in Baltimore, William and Mary not too far, James Madison. I wish it was the old CAA with Mason and ODU, but yeah, it was cool to be able to have some games closer to home and have family come travel. But yeah, unbelievable conference. It still is a really, really talented conference. I mean, guys are playing in the CAA and going to Power Five schools. A couple actually at Elon just did that. So yes, it's amazing basketball.
Absolutely. What are your biggest regrets about your college career? Now, by looking at by your statistical line,
Mhm.
um, the first thing that comes to my mind is you were able to adjust to college basketball quickly, and my guess is you probably thought you probably could. By the time you left, you probably thought you could do more. That's just my guess by looking at I think one year you shot 50% from the field, which is incredible for a guard. But anyway, from your words, what are your biggest regrets about your college career?
I would say I wish I would have been more available. So during my freshman year, I played on a broken wrist without even knowing it.
Hmm.
Halfway through the season, then I contracted mono. So I had missed like 9 to 10 games. And to be honest with you, Julian, I probably would have gotten freshman of the year if I didn't get sick. So that was unfortunate. Going into the off season, going into my sophomore year, I had to get wrist surgery. So I had missed the entire off season play to start that sophomore year. Like I had, and it was crazy. Like it got to a point because I fractured my scaphoid, and you get poor blood supply. But it got to a point where they're like, you can't even run. Like you can do the bike, but you can't run because we don't want we want that blood supply to get there. So I missed that entire off season. I play halfway through the year, and then my ACL goes out.
Hmm.
Um, so I didn't have a full off season until really my last year. And yeah, I would say the biggest regret would be I probably should have took more time going into that sophomore season, maybe even redshirted, because my
Hmm.
body just wasn't, it wasn't formed to sustain that season. And then, my ACL gives out. And I say this, I said this as a regret in high school. Maybe I should have played more sports. That's why I'm a big proponent of multi-sport athletes. I've been playing basketball my entire life. I did 1 year of football, and yeah, I think that also, I don't know for a fact, Julian, but I think that could have played a part into the ACL.
I mean, there's no doubt with that kind of production you had first year that your arc was higher. And I knew there was something in the back in injuries, if a player has an arc like this, every time you get injured, the arc goes like this, and then it goes back up, and then it goes like this. And sometimes it can even go down. If you stay healthy, your arc just keep going up like that.
Sure.
And there's a soccer coach that I knew from Holland who told me that. He said that the most important thing for an athlete is just staying healthy. And
Yeah,
some of that you can't, some of that you can control maybe, but a lot of it you can't
yeah,
control. Just you get some bad luck, and
100%. And I'll say the most important part about that, and I thank God for what I went through, but I had lost confidence for the first time in my life. And I'll even say this, I probably lost some love for the game. And when you truly love something, that happens, right? Like you're gonna question certain things and certain events that come up. But I was most proud my senior year, being able to go on what I went through to still battle and get to a point. Like if you look at the last, I would say like 15 games of my senior year, that was a true Austin Hamilton. I exploded for my career high 31 points.
wow.
Delaware had a 21 point game. Like I was one of the hottest players in that conference that last, I would say like half of conference play. So yeah, I wish I had one more year, Julian, because I think, you would have been able to see what I was capable of.
Yeah, well, at least you had a great career. You really you started 86 games and you were productive, and you won a lot of games, helped win a lot of games. Now, when you think about coaching, you and your brothers have this training business. You love the
Mhm.
game. When did you decide? Look, I want to be head coach. I want to be a high school head coach. How did
Yeah.
that evolve?
Yeah, so it just it kind of came unexpectedly, if I'm being honest, Julian. When I had heard the job open up, had a bunch of people from the community reach out, um, even had some players reach out. And I'd been shying away from coaching for a number of reasons. I've got a young family and obviously doing what I'm doing outside of basketball. Um, I was like, man, I don't know if this is the right time, but there's a number of factors. But it all boiled down to, Julian, I love Herndon. I care about this program. I care about the kids most importantly, and I want them to have an incredible experience, and I want them to have pride when they wear this Hornet, on their chest. And you know, yeah, a lot of things played out. My family, we were living in the Centerville area, and we were moving back to Herndon. So when that happened, and then um, my fiance, when I talked to her about it, she was more excited about it than I was.
Hmm.
So I'm like, wow, okay, maybe this is where God wants me. So a number of factors played into it, but I'm excited because Herndon is home for me.
Do you know exactly what kind of coach you want to be?
Um, I wouldn't say I don't know exactly, but I know what I want to instill in our guys. And we call it the five C's: character, consistency, competitiveness, coachability, and then communication. I think if we can,
That was six.
no, it was
It's
five.
five.
Yeah, it was five. There's a lot, yeah.
Okay.
Um, but if we can instill that in our guys and our coaches too, managers, then I think we'll be, a program of stability and success, going throughout the process. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Have you put your coaching staff together yet?
I'm still working on that. I've got some guys committed. It'll be a mix of sort of Herndon guys that have been in the community already, guys that love the game, guys that are teachers of the game. So yeah, TBD on when that's finally announced, but I'm excited about the staff and they're going to represent those five C's that I talked about. More than anything, right? If we're not representing those values, then how could we expect our players to?
Yeah. How would you describe your brother Walter's coaching style, and what has he taught you about being a coach?
So Walter, I would say he's tough. He's a tough coach. If you've ever seen his team play, um, they're tough nosed, they're hard, but they're skilled. Walter is, in my opinion, and I'm biased because he's my brother, but I've worked with him. He's one of the best when it comes to skill development. Um, that's his bread and butter. That's what he's been doing his whole life. So he does a really good job of, especially the guards. I don't know if you got to see Joy Williams play. She's at Radford,
Mm-mm.
but she's actually related to uh, Jeremy from Baylor, formerly at Duke. That's their cousin, but unbelievable job with her and how she developed. She's an all-conference player at Radford. He's got a girl, Leah Keys, going to Mason.
Damien's daughter.
Yep.
Yeah.
So unbelievable when it comes to skill development. But then from an X's and O's standpoint, he's awesome too. He's got great sets. He's been coaching us, Julian. He used to call it Coach Hamilton's camp in our house. So we'd be like bouncing, off the walls, playing on these Fisher Price hoops. So he's born to be a coach, and for him to be doing what he's doing, so cool for me to see. So I'm gonna pick his brain a ton. We trying to get a call with him this week, but he's doing Boo Williams AAU.
Oh, yes. Okay.
So
Yeah,
um,
when the job was first announced, I just got confused. I thought that was the Hamilton that got
yeah,
the job at first. I wasn't,
uh-huh,
and then I looked at it. I'm like, okay, it's the other
yeah.
one. I said I didn't even know he was coaching, but I knew you guys had a business. I used to love your podcast during the
Oh, thank
during,
you.
yeah, during the COVID. Everyone was doing podcasts then because we had time. We all had a lot. We had a lot to say.
Yep.
So I was really enjoying you guys um, talking about basketball. What has Gary Hall said to you when he's reached out?
I haven't got a chance to connect with him since.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
But we've talked, beforehand, sort of on the current state. But yeah, I'm excited to connect with him. I think he's busy with family and stuff, but I think, he's the one that started this legacy of Herndon basketball, and um, he loves Herndon
Mm,
through and through. So I'm excited to kind of pick his brain, understand, some of the challenges and things that he faced when he was coaching. Obviously, it's a different time, but yeah, Coach Hall, he's done so much for this program. So
mm,
excited to sort of follow in his footsteps along with Chris Wheelen.
yeah. Now Herndon had some pretty decent players this year. What was the kid's name that's going to Hood College?
Tobin.
Tobin. Are any of these players returning or are they all graduating?
So Toby, who I believe was the leading scorer, he's graduating. Another kid, Cash Zeller, who's also one of their lead guys. But we got some, I would say, some talent coming back. Point guard by the name of Ryan. He's been a starter since a freshman. So I'm super excited to work with him. Be me being a point guard.
Mm,
I think I can teach him some things and nuances. Charlie Morgan, who played that four spot, I think he's gonna have an unbelievable year. He's got ton of potential. He's at like 6'4", but
mm,
super strong. We want to get him to play off 2 feet. We want to get all our guys to play off 2 feet. But I think he's going to be special. We've got some young guys, had a really good JV team. So excited to get some of those guys back up to varsity. So yeah, Julian, I'm excited. From what I watched on film, I think McLean won the district
mhm.
last year.
Yeah. Sixth seed.
Yeah,
Fifth seed or sixth seed?
yeah.
Yeah.
That just goes to show. I think the district's wide open. Again, I haven't scouted everyone, but from what I saw on film, Herndon was not far off.
Mm-mm.
A lot of little things that need to be cleaned up and will be cleaned up, um, mostly defensively. So that's going to be a priority. I think we'll tackle this off season. But yeah, I'm excited. I think we have a real good chance to compete and maybe even win the district.
Yeah, Liberty is, and I have no doubt about that, Coach. Liberty is very balanced. Great gyms. They get good crowds in the Liberty. Marshall will always have a good crowd. Wakefield will have a good crowd. WNL, you get some nice turnouts for those games. Got great coaches in that conference. You got
Yep,
Jerry, you got Bobby, I mean, the Yorktown coach Kimmy does a good job. I'm gonna leave people out here. I don't want to do that. Um, Anyone I left out? Oh, Coach O'Brien from McLean, and Coach Bentley, a tremendous coach. So I mean, everyone can coach in that conference, so it's fun. You'll be able to butt heads with guys that you'll have a lot of respect from. Coach, have you ever seen the movie Hoosiers?
of course, yeah.
You remember that? You remember that scene when it's his first game and the team goes out and he's in the locker room and
Yeah.
he's like nervous, like this is Indiana basketball.
Yeah.
Do you think you're gonna be nervous the first time you walk out off the court on your alma mater?
I wouldn't say there. I'm sure there'll be nerves, but it'll just be more excitement and eagerness to experience that. It'll be a lot different from being a player. Um, but one thing about me, I'm going to be prepared. So, um, yeah, I think it'll be good nerves, but more so just excitement and ready to get the guys out there and finally put out, all the work that we put in the off season and see where we lie.
Yeah. Well, Coach, this has been great to meet you, man. I live in Lansdowne, so I'll definitely be able to come check you guys out next year. Before I ask you the last question, I do want to say I did forget Hayfield is one of the best programs in the area. They've had a lot of Division I players too, so that's probably the top four. So I
Mhm.
don't want Coach Carlos to get too mad at me there. uh, so, what about goals for next year? Have you thought about what your goal is for year one for the team? It doesn't have to be wins. It could just be things you
Yeah,
want to accomplish.
I think for me, the main goal is just sort of laying the foundation and expectation of what we want our program to be. Um, Obviously, I mentioned the five C's, but um, we're going to be anchored by how we play defense, um, and that means how we pressure the ball, how we pick up loose balls with two hands, how we communicate, amongst everyone on the floor. So that's going to be number one. And I think, offensively, obviously depends on personnel, but, we want to play a fast-paced game. We want to get up and down. We want to try and get, easy baskets in transition. But yeah, it'll be, I would say, a lot different from what it looked like in the past. Um, Based on our returners, I know we can play fast, but we also have to be disciplined in how we play. Um, so yeah, I'm excited to work with these guys and teach them, you know, what it's like to play, at this level. And me being a former player, I know what it looks like. I know what, the work that needs to be done to get there, not only from a high school player, but at the next level. So a lot of those things from what I've learned, starting with Don Nemo up to Matt Matheny, I'm going to instill in these guys.
Yeah. Coach, I want to wish you the best of luck in this very strange political time when African American leaders are being undermined. It meant a lot to me that they gave you a great opportunity. Carry yourself really well. I have no doubt you're going to be very successful. So I just want to let you know that you definitely have my support. I'm looking forward to your success there, and I just want to wish you the best of luck. And I'm just very happy that you decided to come talk to me.
Absolutely. I appreciate what you're doing, Julian. And, we're going to continue to put Herndon on the map because I believe in this place. It's special. And I'm excited to showcase that through basketball. So go Hornets.
Let's go. That's right. Go Hornets. As long as you don't beat the Rams, you're my friend. So,
Absolutely.
yeah. All right, Coach. Well, look, man, have a great day, and we'll talk soon.
All right. Thanks, Julian.
Yeah, you're welcome.